Hello, welcome to episode 266 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 15th of February, so welcome everybody. I hope you all had a lovely crafty week since the last time I've spoken to you, and I'm here to share all the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So today I've got some knitting, some crochet, some sewing. Well, it isn't actually sewing, but it's sewing related. Some information on what's occurring, a little information on my shop update, and a little appearance from Jensen at the end of the podcast wearing something knitty. So let's get on with the knitting, shall we? I have a finished object. In fact, I've got 3 finished objects today, so I'm so excited to share some finished objects with you. So Barbara, would you like to come over and show us what you've got on? So thank you very much, Barbara. So Barbara is my dressmaking mannequin, if anyone doesn't know. Yes, I have named my dressmaking mannequin. She hasn't been on the video for ages, but I thought get some knitwear on Barbara so that I can actually show you a little bit closer without sort of being really close to my face. So the love note is a top-down sweater. You knit it seamlessly and there's some gorgeous, gorgeous lace. Now I would definitely recommend this for a new knitter. If you've knitted a little bit of lace before, this is such an easy lace pattern, even though it looks quite complicated, but it really isn't. And the whole construction of the garment is really simple as well. So I suggest this is a good start for somebody who hasn't knitted a lot of garments before. I ended up making a couple of changes to this. So I've knitted the body a bit longer. So there are 2 lengths of the body that the pattern states, and I've actually knitted it longer than both of those. I did 11 inches from the underarm down to where just before I started the rib. And that was, I think it was 8 inches was the longest one. So I've done that a little bit longer than the longest one in the pattern. And then I did 1 inch of 1x1 rib, and I did 1x1 twisted rib rather than the standard rib because I think it just looks a little bit neater. And I used a stretchy bind off at the bottom, so I did it in pattern, but I did like knit 2 together, and then purl 1, purl 2 together, if you know what I mean. So that method I used for the bottom, so it was nice and stretchy. I did the same cast off for the sleeves, and I did that a little bit different from the pattern as well. I think I did 10 inches from the underarm until I started the inch of 1x1 twisted rib, and it was because I was basically running short on yarn, and I fancied sort of 3/4 anyway, and it's come up to about here to me, just past my elbow, when I tried it on before I'd blocked it. But I haven't had it on since I've blocked it though, so it might come up a little bit longer because I did try and stretch the sleeves out a little bit. But I decided to sort of risk it with a bit of yarn chicken. So the pattern did state that you needed 3 at least 50 gram balls that I'm using. So I used the alpaca lace and silk that I've got in my shop to be the fluffy yarn, and then I held that double with the fingering weight merino and nylon yarn, so it makes it sort of a DK weight. And it did say in the pattern that I needed the equivalent of 3 50-gram skeins of the yarn that I used, but I only dyed up 2 because it seemed like it would only just go over onto the next skein. So I thought, well, I'll probably knit shorter sleeves anyway, so I went for it, and I did actually end up with 3 grams of the lace left and 60 grams of the fingering weight yarn. So it was actually okay, as long as I wasn't too bothered about the sleeves being full length. Obviously I've extended the length of the body quite a lot, so if you were knitting the shorter version, I reckon you could get away with the 2 skeins of each easily for the long sleeve version, at least in my size. I did the 44.5 inch chest, and I just followed as per instructions for the stitch counts for the body and the sleeves, etc. I didn't do any positive ease, so this is about the measurement of my bust. I don't like things being too baggy. I find if they're too big on the shoulders, I just find them really uncomfortable, and I just feel like a big, massive it just makes me feel bigger. So that's why I always go for sort of no ease, or sometimes I do a little bit of negative ease. So this one, I'm really pleased with how it's come out. So it does say in the pattern that you are supposed to have positive ease. So a lot of the people who are wearing it, it looks like a lot more of a baggy top, but for me it's quite a fitted one. Now, when I did the neckline, I did the Judy's Magic cast on at the beginning so that I could just go back to it with the stitches already live and then go and knit my 1x1 rib, and I did a twisted rib instead of the standard rib. And it said in the pattern just to do a standard bind off on the neckline so that it didn't stretch out too much. But because I was doing a size that was no positive ease, I found that this was a bit tight for me, but actually it looks okay on. It just is a little bit of a struggle to get it over my head. I have to take my glasses off, but that's absolutely fine. I don't mind that at all. But I think next time if I did knit it the same again, I'd probably just do it stretchy so that I don't have to take my glasses off if I was going to do it again. I think I probably will knit another one of these. Actually, they were so easy and quick to knit. I could not believe it. I think it was 2 weeks that it took me to knit the whole thing. You knit the main body of the sweater on 6mm needles, so obviously that's why it goes so quick. So you use a 4.5mm needle for the rib, so it sort of cinches it in slightly. I've blocked this on my blocking mats, so I think it has stretched out a little bit. It does have a little bit more drape because I've blocked it, and it does look a little bit longer. I think the lace is opened up, so it might come out a little bit longer than when I tried it on when I did it in the vlog last week. But obviously I finished the sleeves since then, so you'll be able to see the whole effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this on, and I will take some footage outside so that you can see it in a much better light, and Adam can take the footage so you'll be able to see it a little bit better. But it just, oh, I love it. I love it so much. My mum is very interested in one of these, and I have dyed up a colour especially for mum, so I'm going to dye up the appropriate amount of yarn that I need. I need to check that out so that I can knit mum one. But I'm going to knit hers in just a DK weight yarn because she doesn't like any sort of itchy fluffy fibres. This is a cereal alpaca fluff, which is a little bit less itchy than mohair, but if you are sensitive it can make you a little bit itchy. I'm fine with it, to be honest, and I am quite fussy with things, but as long as it isn't too sort of high up on my neck, I'm normally okay with the alpaca. Like I said, mum is quite sensitive, and I'm going to do it in DK merino for hers, so it'll be interesting to see how hers comes out and how it sort of drapes a little bit differently with it being one DK yarn instead of using the 2 strands held together, the lace and the fingering weight. But isn't that pattern lovely? I just love that lace. Absolutely gorgeous. So Barbara, give us one last little twirl. And what I will do is I will put some footage in here of me twirling around outside in it. So the colourway that I used is my own hand dyed yarn in the pink colourway, which is inspired by the Aerosmith song. And both of the different types of yarn were all dyed up in the same colourway. So I did alternate skeins on this, but I didn't alternate skeins until I'd split for the sleeves, and I did alternate skeins on the body when I changed the yarn every row. I didn't actually alternate skeins on the sleeves because I only had 1 skein of yarn left of each of the types of yarn. I forgot to say that I omitted the short rows from the back of this top. I just did a straight finish just because I thought I might run out of yarn, so I kept it with the straight bottom. But I'm really pleased with how that's come out. So it has actually stretched a little bit on the arms, so it is about 3/4 length, which is brilliant. And I think it may have stretched a little bit on the body, which I think is the perfect length now. Really enjoying the fit and everything, so I'll definitely follow those measurements if I knit it again. I have actually just got a bra underneath, which you can see my bra showing, but I probably would wear it with a black t-shirt underneath to really accentuate the little hearts through here. But I absolutely love it. I'm so pleased with it, and I love the colour on me. It just makes me feel nice and bright. It's just going to be something I wear quite a lot, I think. I definitely think I'm going to knit something like this again, if I'm not knit the same thing actually. Just fitted really nicely. So the next thing I've got to show you is the Foliosa shawl. Now Liz knitted this and it's absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. So this is by Justyna Lorkowska, and it is a beautiful lace shawl. It is knitted from the centre outwards until you get to this applied border at the bottom, and then you're knitting sideways all the way down the side of the shawl. Now Liz got a bit confused when she got to that bit and was trying to repeat the whole of this border along the whole thing, so it's, if you haven't done this type of applied border before, you might be confused. So make sure that when you come to, when you've finished up to this section, this bit is actually knitted this way. Hopefully that makes sense. But it is gorgeous. Look at that. It's got some beautiful sort of simple lace pattern up the top here. So you can see that there is a 1x1 twisted rib in some sections, which looks really lovely and neat. And then my favourite bit is the gorgeous cable and lace border, which is absolutely stunning. So this shawl is knitted with 3 skeins of my merino yak and silk yarn, which has got 365 meters per skein, and it actually said that you needed 800 meters for the pattern, but I thought I'd risk it by using 2 skeins. But Liz ran out of yarn quite early on in the applied border. I think she'd knitted about that much and then she ran out, so I had to dye another one up. But thankfully I don't think you can really tell where the join is, which is good. I wouldn't say it's a good idea to risk buying a 3rd skein to match in with something you've already got, but because I was dyeing it and I thought, actually, if it doesn't match, what I'll do is I'll dye the whole shawl again once it's finished if it does look awful. But actually it's matched in really nicely, and I think it helps because it has got quite a lot of lace and cables in it, where there's so much texture that there are changes in colour in the shawl because of the texture. And the colourway that I chose is the Kiss Me colourway, which is like a very dusky grey pink, which was also very appropriate for Valentine's Day, as was my love note sweater. So this is quite a large shawl, which is absolutely lovely, and I'm so pleased with this. I will definitely be wearing this a lot. I think that'll go with a lot of my clothes. So I had 85 grams left of the 3rd skein though, so there is quite a lot of leftover yarn, which I can knit a hat with or something, I think. But if I'd have chosen a yarn that had 400 meters per skein, I would have done it in 2 skeins. It's just that the 365 meter skein of this type, because it had the yak silk mix in there, it made it a little bit heavier, so you end up with less meterage per skein. So probably best to do it in a merino that has 400 meters, and then 2 skeins is a little bit less expensive than 3 skeins. So the 3rd thing I've got to show you are some finished mittens. I finished them. I'm so pleased that these are finished. So these are the Songbird mittens by Heusser, and I've knitted them in some Jamieson Smith yarn, and the colourways are FC21 mix and 1283 mix. I think the FC21 was the purpley grey, and the 1283 mix is the sort of pink shade. I chose these colours so that they wouldn't contrast too much, they'd be a little bit sort of subdued. Really pleased with how this has come out. Actually, I've noticed that the one that I knitted second, which is this one, I think my tension is getting more equal between my 2 yarns. If you look really closely, I can see that the pink is more sort of visible on the bird, so I think my tension is getting a bit better over the time of knitting, so that's always good. The fronts have got the gorgeous birds on. I love this cuff, it's so pretty and it really lovely and easy to knit. Anything that's sort of very geometric is so easy to knit in colour work, and I really love the inside of these mittens as well. Really pretty, and they've got a little design on the thumbs. I've got them on some Woodico mitten blockers at the moment, like this, but I shall put them on my hands so you can see what they look like. I've got one there. So lovely when they've just been blocked as well. It really makes them feel so smooth. I don't know why. Obviously I really enjoy what I'm doing here. So there we go, that's them on my hands. I did knit these in 2.5mm needles, which is a smaller needle than the pattern suggests, but it's because I've used about this stitch count with the 2.5mm needles before, and then they've worked out perfectly. So I stuck with the tension that I know that I really liked. I think if you probably use the 2.5mm needles, you end up with a slightly larger mitten so that they'll be looser to wear, but I like them quite fitted, so that they're not too large and they fit nicely around the wrists as well. But I'm really pleased with how they've come out, and that's adding to my lovely colourwork mitten collection that I've got. I'll have to cast another pair on. I do have some yarn just there to knit Adam some Expecto Patronum mittens, which is my next colourwork project in terms of sort of mittens that I need to cast on, I think. Since I've already got the yarn, I'd better do it. So I bought two 25-gram balls of each of these, and I ended up with 23 grams of both of the yarns. So I've got quite a lot left of these two colours, so those will go into my colourwork stash of different colours that I've got, so I'm sure they'll be used up in another colourwork project. So I knitted these on higher flyer needles for the main body of the mitten, but I did switch to DPNs for the thumb because I just can't manage. I find it really fiddly to hold the flyer needles with such a small circumference, but they're brilliant for the actual width of the mitten, because it just reduces the amount of tight stitches you get at the edge compared to the magic loop. You could of course use 9-inch circulars, but I find though the higher flyers a bit more comfortable than the 9-inch circulars, so it's just another option that you've got to pick which is the most comfortable needles for you. So that is all of my knitting that I've got, but I have 3 finished objects, so I'm so pleased with those. I'm really pleased to finish these because these were on the needle since last February. Oh dear. Good news is Jensen is now sleeping through the night a lot better. Well, touch wood, fingers crossed, he's done it for 3 nights in a row, so hopefully it continues, which means I do tend to get a little bit more knitting time in the evening, so I don't have to go to bed so early. So I'm now going on to my crochet section. So I have been working a little bit more on my lovely Weekender blanket, and this is a really gorgeous pattern by Sandra Paul, and it's hexagons. Now these are crocheted in DK weight yarn, but I've used fingering weight held double because I had an advent calendar which I purchased from Giddy Yarns in 2022, and it was the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory theme advent. And I caked up all my balls of yarn in this basket so that I could then get on with my lovely crocheted blanket. So I have 10 grams of each of the colourways, and because I'm holding it double, I'm using about 3.5 grams for each hexagon. So I'm hoping I'll get 3 hexagons out of each 10 grams. So I have worked each colour once, at least once, so I'm probably about halfway through the second round again, so I'm hoping to get the third one out, and it might, if it's not big enough when I've got to that point, I will start digging in my stash for some colours that go nicely with these. So I've tried to sort of fade the colours so that the colours next to each other go nicely. We've got a couple of random hexagons here. This is because Jensen really likes yellow and he wanted me to put yellow there. And then this one had got yellow in it as well, so he chose where he wanted me to put that, which I was actually in agreement that was quite a good place to put it. So in this centre here is the sort of one repeat of all the colours, and then I'm going to do 2 more repeats of that, and then maybe add some more different colours to it. And then there was 100 grams skein came with as well for the advent, so I was going to do that as a border around the outside, so that's working up nicely. I haven't had a lot of time to work on this one, to be honest, because I really want to get those mittens finished, so that I can actually finally get them off the needles and have them as a finished object, even though they were on last year's Make 9. So there we go. So I'm really enjoying that. You could do it in fingering weight yarns held singly, but I just thought it'd be nice to have a nice thicker blanket in the sort of DK weight. I know that if you hold 2 strands of fingering weight, sometimes it can be called like an Aran weight yarn, because it can vary. 2 strands of fingering weight can make either a DK or an Aran, depending on what needle size you use and what sort of conversion you use as well. So I think it's coming out really nicely in the texture that I want it. I haven't actually measured the hexagons themselves, so they're probably a different size from the original pattern, but I love this pattern. It's just a really nice satisfying shape, and you can join them as you go, which I am doing, and there is a photograph tutorial that you can use as well, so you can add them as you go. The only thing with adding them as you go, you have to sort of decide where you're going to place your yarns before you sort of do it, but I did try and sort of plan it out as I go. You could of course just crochet them up at the end, and it does mean that you do sort of have a gap in the middle, but I don't think that that's causing any problems at all. It seems quite sturdy. So there we go, that's the Weekender blanket by Sandra Paul. And now I'm going on to my sewing section. So last week I did do a crafty vlog where I showed how I made these, but I wanted to follow the trend that was already happening, mainly on Instagram. I think it was Nikki Franklin from the Stitchery who did one of these first, and it's basically a travel jewellery box which I converted into a little sewing case. Obviously this is not my idea, lots of people have already done it on Instagram, and if you want to get some more sort of ideas for colour combinations and things, if you use the hashtag travel sewing case on Instagram, it'll come up with loads of ideas, so go and have a look there. I added some Liberty print Tana lawn in these gorgeous bright pinks because I thought that would be nice to have a nice cheerful pop of colour. I am going to put a little heart. I think that idea for a little heart on here was from Tink Hickman, so check her Instagram page out because I really liked the way that looked. But if you just look at the hashtag travel sewing case, there's so many ideas out there. So I want to have that little heart on here, and I'm also going to make a little pin cushion and a needle case so that it sort of completes the set. And I like the idea of having little, you know, the little packets of sewing needles where you have the little hook where they put it on display. You can hook them on there as well, so that's really nice. But I love this idea because it just looks really finished and nice and compact, and everything that you need there fits, and I think it's brilliant that the glue pen fits, and also my needle threader as well, which is absolutely brilliant. And I happen to have a pink one which goes with the actual pink fabric as well, which is good. I'm just annoyed that my thread magic is blue, so because I want to have a pink one to match. Maybe I can cover it, I don't know. We shall see. So there we go, that is the sewing case that I did, and if you look back at the video from last week you can see how I did it if you need to sort of get some little bit of confidence to get started, because it is a bit scary tearing the box apart to start with to actually cover it. The case on the outside just looks like this. And you can get them on all different colours, but I bought the cream one thinking it would be quite neutral to put different fabrics with it. I did also purchase a zipped one, a little one, so that I could put all my little knitting things in there, and in the video I showed in detail of what I've popped in there as well. But that's really handy to have all bits and bobs sort of divided into sections, little snips, needles, needle stoppers, all sorts. And I've tried to do pink theme there as well. These again are Liberty Tana lawns, which I've used to line these, which I absolutely love using, especially for English paper piecing. And that is pink on the outside as well. So there we go, those are my 2 little sewing cases, or knitting cases as well. And I would definitely recommend having a go at that because it's a lovely, quick, fun little project. And you can put everything all organised together, which is always a good thing. So we're on to the what's occurring section next. So I just wanted to reiterate that we've got Barbara's Day out, a sort of crafty meetup for all like-minded crafty people on the 17th of March at Dunston Hall at 2 PM in the Terrace bar. Now Alison has suggested we do a yarny swap, so if you'd like to bring some yarns with you, we can have a little table and swap some yarns over. So anything in your stash that you fell out of love with and you want to bring it with you, we can do a little swap. I've certainly got a couple of things
things I've had in my stash a long time, which I've sort of fallen out of love with a bit, so it might be nice to swap those with something else. So I wanted to wish Rachel a very happy birthday. So happy birthday, Rachel, for Monday. Have a wonderful time and make sure you make at least a month of it celebrating. So next is my shop update section. So the March yarn clubs will be available from the 23rd of February at 7 PM GMT, and with those who've purchased the February yarn clubs, I'll be shipping those tomorrow, so just to let you know. I am releasing a new yarn set for sort of springtime. So tomorrow, the 16th of February at 7 PM GMT, I'll be releasing a new spring inspired handmade project bag and hand-dyed yarn set. So it will be my standard medium-sized boxed bottom bag with free motion applique design on the front. This will be a mystery because I wanted to keep it all a surprise for you guys, but I do have a inspiration photo. So the theme is Spring Fling, and it shows you an idea of the colours I'm going to include, but the idea of the set is that it's inspired by a dance, by those pop songs that were played at the dances of years gone by, sort of 70s, 80s and 90s I think this time. So here is the picture of an idea what the colours will be, so that gives you an idea whether you like it or not, but the design of the bag and the final colourways will be a mystery. So those kits will be available from the 16th of February at 7 PM GMT. And those sets are a pre-order, so they will be shipped by the 15th of March. Listings will be open tomorrow for a week or two, or until they're all sold out. So next week I will be drawing for the February subscriber winner giveaway, so make sure that you're subscribed to the newsletter. So we're on to Jensen's section at the end of the podcast, so over to you, Jensen. So today Jensen is wearing the Baby Bear Balaclava by Pernille Larsen, and it's knitted in a sport weight yarn in my You Raise Me Up colourway. I think actually that this would have been probably better if I'd have knitted it in a DK weight yarn. So on Ravelry it says it's a sport weight, but they do suggest using a fingering weight yarn and a lace weight fluffiness held together, double. So I think that's probably more like a DK, but they put sport weight on Ravelry, so I tried a sport weight out, but I think it would have been a bit more snuggly if I'd have used a DK yarn. But it is a proper balaclava, so it goes right around the neck to keep the neck nice and cosy. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye!